Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Web Yeshiva for our summer break. I'm Stuart Fischman, and today we're talking about the difference between Shabbat and Yom Tov. We'll start with the Tanakh. Mitzvah of Shabbat, of course, is one of the Aseret HaDibrot, one of the 10 Commandments. And Torah tells us there are two mitzvot. Zachorat Yom HaShabbat L'Kodsho, Shemart Yom HaShabbat L'Kodsho. Remember Shabbat, observe Shabbat. And the way that we remember Shabbat, like this Chazal teach us, is when Shabbat begins, we say Kiddush. Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh Shabbat. It's Shabbat, and we remember it verbally. To observe the Shabbat, that is the prohibition against doing melacha on Shabbat. Okay, that's what we learn in the Chumash. The Navi Yeshaya expands on what it means to observe Shabbat, and he makes a promise to us. If on Shabbat you refrain from going about your everyday activities, from pursuing your habits, your work on my holy day, which is pretty much Shamort Yom HaShabbat L'Kodsho. It's like all the thou shalt not. But then what do? You will treat Shabbat as a day of oneg, a day of delight. All right? Treat Shabbat as a day of delight. I'll put an arrow over there. Shabbat is a day of delight. But Kodesh Hashem Mechubad, it's holy to Hashem, and it is honored. We have to honor Shabbat. We honor our parents. That's one of the Aseret HaDibrot. We have to treat Shabbat as a day of honor. And how do we honor Shabbat? We don't pursue our normal activities, even from our everyday speech. Shabbat is different. Shabbat is different. And that's how it's distinguished. Shabbat is a day which is separate. And it's a day of delight. If we can do this, Asinategel Hashem, you will find delight with Hashem. Hashem will place you above all of the high places of the earth. And you will have the inheritance of your ancestor Yaakov, for Hashem has spoken. So it's not that, Shabbat is a day of like enforced rest. Like I can't do, like when you have little kids in the house, even big kids in the house. I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this, I can't do that. It's hard to keep your children like involved in Shabbat. For adults, we should be mature enough to understand this, that Shabbat is simply different. One day a week is a day for Hashem. And it's a day of delight. But primarily, of course, it's a day that it's marked by things that we do not do. One day a week, we don't go to work. We shouldn't even be speaking, as tempting as it is, about current events. From Daber Davar. The Rambam writes about this, of course, and he sums it up. There are four things in the Tanakh about Shabbat. Shnayim in the Torah, Shnayim Divrei Sofrim. Two of them are psukim in the Chumash. Two of them are rabbinic ideas, and they're based on the Navi Yeshaya. Shabbat is the Chor v'Shamor. She's partially the Nevi'im Kavod v'Oneg. When the Torah says remember and observe, we get an interpretation. Why? How do you remember? How do you observe? Because Navi says it boils down to kavod va'oneg, and those are the psukim that we just saw. That's Shabbat. Shabbat is primarily a day without work. That's the main Torah thing, most important thing. And it's a day of oneg. It's a day of delight, but again, it's a day that's honored. And the honor given to Shabbat is mesot brachecha mitzochav tzechav daber davar. Again, don't engage in your 6-day-a-week activities. Don't engage in 6-day-a-week business, and don't even speak about your 6-day-a-week preoccupations. Last week in Kriyat Tifran Parshat Re'eh, we had the mitzvah, the single mitzvah in the Torah of Yom Tov. What is Yom Tov about? V'samachta b'chagecha. It's a day for happiness. Ata avincha v'techa v'avcha v'matecha v'alivasher v'yatom v'malashir b'shrecha. You shall rejoice. It's about the Chag of Sukkot. It's true for all the holidays. You and your children, your sons, your daughter, your male servants, your female servants, the Levi who has no real share in the land, the ger, the orphan and the widow. Everyone. You have to make sure everyone is happy. Yom Tov is a day for happiness. And today, what we're talking about today primarily, what's the difference between a day of happiness and a day of delight? Okay, Yom Tov is a day of happiness. Shabbat is a day for delight. What exactly does that mean? All right, so circle these two words. There's happiness and there's delight. Okay. The most obvious difference that we can really grasp about Yom Tov, that you have to be happy. Okay? And now covered Shabbos also applies to covered Yom Tov and all those other things. What's this mitzvah of happiness? So the Rambam, based on Gemara and Pesachim, he gives us ideas. Okay. Ketzah. Okay, Samachta b'chagecha. We'll start from over here. That is really where it comes down to. The opposite of happiness is mourning. The opposite of being happy is being in mourning. There is no mourning, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. There's no mourning on Yom Tov. Asur behesped v'tanis. And there's an obligation. And I knew this person who was like really into Breslov. And he told me that Rabbi Nachman says that the hardest mitzvah in all the Torah is v'samachta b'chagecha. I mean, and we'll talk more about this. I mean, my wife has a very good friend whose father passed away on Erev Yom Tov. And I think it was there. When did what's her name's father pass away? What? When did Ellen's father pass away? Oh, it's even worse. On Yom Tov itself. On Yom Tov itself, on Sukkot itself, he passed away. You have the Levaya, but you don't sit Shiva. There's no mourning on Yom Tov. Chayav adam yosben sameach. You have to be happy. It's hard to force yourself to be happy. But the Rambam says, Chayav, you must. You must be happy. All right? You must be happy. I must be mitzameach v'tov leiv. Hu v'anav v'ishtov v'neivaisik limalav. You and your wife and your children and everyone that's a part of your extended family who's with you on Yom Tov, you have to be happy. Why? That's the pasuk we read last week in the Torah. V'samachta b'chagecha. You will be happy on your holiday. Now, avabish simcha mor kanu korban shlamim. Now, in the days of Beis Hamikdash, we were ola regel. we brought kabanos, and that was our festive meal. But these days, unfortunately, we don't have a base mikdash right now. These days also, even though we don't have a base of mikdash, unfortunately, we still have the mitzvah. We have to find a way to observe this mitzvah of Samach b'chigecha kol chad v'chad kroi lo. Every person in the way that works for him or works for her. Ketzah, and he goes on. Ketzah, how do you do this? Some pleasure goes to McDonald's. You have little kids in the house, buy them junk food. In Israel, we have something called beastly, which I've been eating almost my entire life. But every country has its own junk food. Buy them junk food. When you're married, buy. I can't buy clothing for her because she doesn't like what I buy her. I certainly wouldn't pick out earrings for her. Take her to buy earrings. My wife likes earrings. Okay, men should eat meat and drink wine. I happen not to like meat, not like wine, but you eat what you enjoy. But the main thing is, besides this, is to look after the poor. Not just I should be eating, all the unfortunates should also be eating. Because if I just eat and I don't take care of the poor, ain't a simchas mitzvah as simchas akeres. If I have a festive meal and I haven't made sure that poor people also have festive meals, it's not. I'm not celebrating with a mitzvah. My stomach is celebrating. So that's Yontiv. Yontiv is all about happiness as opposed to oneg. Okay, so that's the first point I wanted to make. Any questions? No questions. Okay, so we can go on. All right. So we go on. Again, the main difference in halacha that's easy to okay, what's the difference in Shabbos and Yom Tov? The difference in Shabbos and Yom Tov is in the laws of mourning, and this is the Rambam. It's based on the Gemara in Moed Katan. HaShabbos olu minyan avelus, and avelus b'Shabbos l'adam shebetzina. Chalila, a person sitting Shiva, 7 days, Shabbos counts as part of the 7 days. And there's no public mourning, there's only the public avelus is like wearing torn clothes, not wearing leather shoes. On Shabbos, avelim go to shul with their normal clothing, they wear normal shoes, because that would be public mourning. But there's private mourning, which they do observe. There's no marital relations. Tifat Sarosh, people used to wrap their heads up. We don't do this anymore. But public mourning, no. There's no public avelus. They wear shoes. They used to turn their beds over. You don't have to turn your bed over. And you say hello to people. And a novel normally doesn't say hello. You don't say hello. And you do say hello on Shabbos. And what about Yontiv? Haragalim, v'chein Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim, ein davar medivei avelos noig behem. There's no avelos at all. There's no mourning on Yontiv. Ein davar medivei avelos noig behem. Kol kovas meisa afilo sha'achas kam regel kam Hashem v'Yom Kippurim patam el k'zer shiva. A person's nifter erev Yontiv, and I've been to Levias like that. Someone's nifter erev Yontiv. The Chevra Kadisha does everything that they can to hurry it up. Get the burial done before Shkia. And then the Avelim just take their shoes off at the cemetery, and that's their Avelis. And then the Shiva is over. As long as the burial takes place with even 10 minutes of Avelos before Yontiv, Sha'ah doesn't mean literally 60 minutes, a brief interval of time. But the minute of Shiva, there's no more Shiva. Yontiv cancels Shiva. There's no Avelos on Yontiv at all. There's no Avelos because there's no mourning. And this idea, because there's a mitzvah, there's an absolute mitzvah to be happy. As opposed to Shabbos, Shabbos is a day of oneg. It's not a day of happiness. It's a day of delight. Well, so what is delight? We'll see. But this is one example, and this is a halacha in Shulchan Aruch. The laws of fasting on Shabbos. Okay? Also, the sounds of Shabbos at Sheishos. It's also to fast on Shabbos more than 6 hours. No, you have a chazan in shul, and he's taking a long time. Shul has to end by 12, actually by 11, because you have to be eating by 12, because otherwise you're fasting on Shabbos. Even if you're learning and davening and you're very spiritual, you have to eat lunch by 12 o'clock on Shabbos. Now, yesh omrim, she'adam shemasak lo ha'achila, does onekush lo lechol. This isn't something that's definitely objective, like the mitzvah of happiness on Yantiv. This is a day of delight. Delight is rather subjective. Whether you enjoy. I don't enjoy eating. I don't enjoy eating. I don't enjoy eating. Eating makes me sick. Okay, mazik lo achila, oneg shlo lechol. His delight, his pleasure is not eating. Lo yochal, don't eat. On Yantav, you have to eat because it's v'samachta. It's v'samachta. Okay? What was that? What? Okay. Very good. Granddaughter, we have a birthday. My granddaughter's at a birthday party. First birthday party. Okay, very exciting. So it's a delight not to eat, so don't eat. You don't have to eat. And he goes on the Ramah. Maybe you're very unhappy. Well, you're a novel. We do say they say Shabbos counts as one of the Shiva days. You're just sad. Crying will make you feel better. Cry. That's your oneg. That's your oneg. You can cry. And the Mishnah Berurah explains this. Atzarmi libo. Crying relieves the bad feeling in your heart. Because now, yes, it's no avails no Chol Moed either. Includes Chol Moed, yes. You're crying for spiritual things. The pain of the Shechina Kaviyachol. That's the Taz. And he says, Kainu Matzah B'Spam B'Kavana. And people who don't know Allah Kavana, know Allah Kabbalah, they cry when they're davening. Well, Stam because below. God says, Stam, you're sad, you're crying, that you can't cry on Shabbos. But the other Achronim say, no, cry. Anything that makes you sad, Khalila, you're an aval or whatever, you can cry on Shabbos. If crying on Shabbos will make you feel better. Because again, it's a question of the oneg, and the oneg is very, very subjective. A person doesn't want to eat, you don't eat. A person wants to cry, you can cry. That's only on Shabbos. Yantiv is very, very different. And Yantiv, because again, there's no availus on Yantiv. And Rav Avadi Yosef, in his Yalkut Yosef, he sums it up like this. Where's my little arrow? On and b'yom tov shemeso dain lo nikpar v'ingdatul kovad yodei nochem b'yom tov lochal lavaninus b'kash rach mispal. There's a din of onain. And onain is the person between the death of the relative and the funeral. And onain is pater from mitzvos. His mitzvah is to just take care of the funeral arrangements. He's osik b'mitzvah. That's like the simplest way to understand it. So let's say, Chalila, someone's nifter in Erev Yantiv. There's a din that on Yantiv you can arrange for non-Jews to do the burial. And you're not doing that. You're going to wait till Chol Moed to do the burial with the Jewish Chevra Kadisha. You're not an Onei. You're Chayav in mitzvos. Makayish Mevarach Mispalo. You say Kiddush, you say Birkas Hamazon, you daven. Yantav Shal Sukkah, so bracha, and you can make a bracha on the Sukkah. And I emphasize this in red. But all of the shtadol ma'od shlo livkos b'yom tov mishum mitzvah simchas yantav. You have to try very hard not to cry on yantav, even though your relative just died and you're thinking about the funeral. Don't cry. Don't give in to crying, or as a mitzvah of simchas yantav. You have to conquer your emotions. Rav Soloveitchik wrote a famous essay. It's called Isha. That's why I just want to show you a Tosfot. Tosfot just make this. They want. This is like their idea. Shabbos there is a velus. Yantav there's no velus. But why? What's the difference? And it's this Tosfos just sums up the idea very nicely in a line. Shabbos counts towards Shiva. Yantav does not count towards Shiva. Because in a Yantav there's no avelos at all because there's a mitzvah of Simcha. Shabbos mialoksiv Simcha filo eina noheges olabish, and that's it. But there's no mitzvah of Simcha on Shabbos. It says v'samachta b'chagecha. It does not say anywhere v'samachta b'Shabbat. There's no mitzvah of Simcha. The mitzvah of Avelos is relevant. On Yantav, there is a mitzvah of Simcha, so the mitzvah of Avelos is irrelevant. Yes, Miss Man, yes, Yantav has objective rules. That's how it is in the postscript. That's why there is no Avelos on Yantav, even though deep down you're feeling terribly unhappy. And on Shabbos, you can cry. You can cry over anything. If you're if you're depressed on Shabbos, cry. Just cry. You can be sad on Shabbos because that's oneg. When we get more into that, the oneg is subjective, but the mitzvah of samachta b'chagecha makes objective parameters. Now, Rav Soloveitchik, he wrote a famous essay called Isha Halacha. And in Isha Halacha, he quotes some stories about the Vilna Gaon along these lines, about emotion. Mesaprim al Gaon mi Vilna, they say about the Vilna Gaon in Simchas Torah, he was remarkably celebratory. Vilna Gaon is usually a very solemn person. During a kafos, he was dancing. He would dance, he would clap, he would sing, everything. He was just out there during a kafos. He was radiant with joy. As soon as the kafos was over, the gabbai bangs on the bima. Ad kan hakafa gimel. Go back to learn. You could turn it on and turn it off. Shemei Sachiv Shel Gra, when the Gra's brother was nifter. V'hala kalat shmos evel b'yom tov. Hear about this on Shabbos. V'yisragesh. Then show any emotion. V'yivkin shem simanei tsar. Didn't show any sorrow. Kishachasem is birkas avdal b'motzei Shabbos paras b'tchiyah. But when he made the bracha on Havdalah, bracha mavda b'kodesh l'chol, he burst out in tears. For the Rav, this was a sort of ideal personality. The person's whole personality is governed by halacha. Now, there's another tshuva, and I just felt that it's relevant. It was certainly a great gadol in halacha. It was called the Amudei Or, of Yechiel Heller. I can open up his page. There's a sefer called Amudei Or. He wrote Shalos and Shuvos of Yechiel Heller. He was Rav in a town called Suwałk, which was in Poland. And he tells a story. So I have to open it up. Amudei Or. And this is his story. B'Yam the Chag HaShavuos Shnas Tafresh Dal Yud. That's 1864, I think. Mesa la ishti atznua isha ksherim benashim ha'mufsemes ba'navos ba'tzidkasa ba'spesia. In his wife was Nifter. B'yazva osives yodai kram b'yagona nacha. This is on Shavuos, and she left us just in absolute sorrow. Vistapakti im hutalano livkos b'yom tov. I had a doubt if we could cry on Yom Tov. Our hearts were in turmoil from the terrible blow with which we were broken. I was thinking, because he thinks halachically, all right, the Levaya is not today. Between Misa and Kavura, it's not forbidden for us to cry. Because the issue of crying is as not to negate the mitzvah of Simchas Yantov. And he was going to do the Levaya that day. I guess he had non-Jews. Rabbi Yosef made the point of, you're not doing the Levaya on Yantov, then you're not an Onen. But apparently they were doing the Levaya that day. So he is an Onen. Okay? An Onen is pata from mitzvot. An Onen is pata from mitzvot, and the Onen is pata from the mitzvah of Simchas Yantiv. How is this mitzvah? He's not saying Birkas Hamazon, he's not saying Kiddush. Why is the mitzvah of Simchas Yantiv different from any other mitzvah? And there is an idea that the Torah of an Onen is the Rabbanin. By mitzvah Rabbanin, if there's a mitzvah Rabbanin not to do something that exempts you from actively doing a mitzvah. That's called Sheval Taseh. So I'm not obligated to the mitzvah of Simcha. And since I'm putter, from the mitzvah, the mitzvah's essay of being happy, I don't know if crying would be considered an active violation of that mitzvah. You could say that the real mitzvah is to eat meat. And he goes on and on. So you go, yes, I could cry. But he felt that I can look towards the mitzvah of Shabbos. And there's no mitzvah of Simcha for me right now, but I can say that I look at Shabbos, and Shabbos is a day of oneg, of delight. If someone delights in crying, it's mutter we saw from to cry on Shabbos. But I say, and then I had both ideas, and it was hard for me to come to any conclusion. But he did cry, because he felt that it's like, for him it would be oneg. Okay, the first be'esa marivas samachti al svaras poskan misha briska honor go to the coast. Okay, and then achar kvura kvantel adatu kaim mikatsa yom simchas yamto b'simcha shabalei. And then after the levaya, now he's chayiv in mitzvos. Now he's chayiv in the mitzvah of simcha, and he put all of his energy into at least being somewhat happy. And makes us a yom simchas yom tov v'simcha shabalei. Kabel dina yisbarach ba'ava. And I pray that Hashem will heal us. So that's it. He thought about this. Is it mutter for me to cry? is it also for me to cry? Well, he was an onain who was patur from mitzvos. He felt that it was permitted for him to cry. But after the levaya, when he's chayav in mitzvos again, and he's chayav in the mitzvah of simchas haregel, he put all of his efforts into at least being somewhat happy. And that's how and then he writes a long tshuva about all the lachas he thought of while he was sitting shiva. So that's it. It's like, there's a certain ideal of somehow getting your emotions governed by your halachic knowledge. So what's oneg? We talk enough about simcha. What's oneg? This is the Beis Halevi. This is Rav Soloveitchik's great grandfather. And he bases this idea, he writes something short. We'll see Rav Soloveitchik wrote something rather long. The Musaf davening of Shabbos. You establish Shabbat, you decided her karbanos. The people who find the light in Shabbos, Mangeha, will inherit kavod. Who are the Ma'angeha? What does that mean? So basically, Levi talks about this. Musaf shel Shabbos Mangeha lom kavod in Challah. We say that every Shabbos. Those who find the light in Shabbos will inherit kavod. Now, there's a difference in Yontiv and Shabbos about Yontiv itself. There's a famous machlokus in the Gemara, and I'll open it up. What are we supposed to be doing on Yontiv? No, open. All right, this is Gemara, the second parak of Beitzah. It's a pretty well-known machlokus. Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer Omer. Rabbi Eliezer says, on Yantiv, either you eat and drink, or you sit and you learn. It's one or the other. Rishon says, no, you can divide each day of Yantiv in half. Half the day is for Hashem, half the day is for you. Rabbi Yochanan says Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua both looked at the same psukim, but they came to different conclusions. One pasuk says Atzeret l'Hashem Elokecha. Atzeret, which is Shavuos, is for day for Hashem. So it's a day for you. So what is it? A day for Hashem or a day for you? Aketza. How do we reconcile these two psukim? There's no savar al kol Hashem al kol lachem. So it says it's binary. Or it's for Hashem, or it's for you. Rabbi Yeshua savar chalkeu. Rabbi Yeshua says no. The two psukim can coexist. Half the day is for Hashem, half the day is for you. All right, let's just keep that in mind. We go back to the Beis Halevi. Hinei gabi Yom Tov pligi Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yeshua Masechus Psachim. Rabbi Eliezer Savar al kul Hashem al kul lachem. Yeshua Savar chetz Hashem chetz lachem. By Yantiv, there's a machlokes. V'ne'emar sham b'Shabbos kol mod be'inin lachem. So you call it Shabbos oneg. But everybody agrees that Shabbos is a day, at least partially for us, because Shabbat involves oneg. L'chara nira di'eshchut ben Shabbos liYom Tov. There's a distinction between Shabbos and Yom Tov. Yom Tov siv lachem, dainu achilu shtiya l'Hashem. Yom Tov, there's this concept of lachem, u'Lashem. Okay, we have both psukim. So Rabbi Yeshua, the tzorch l'kaim davka shneim. Rabbi Yeshua says you must observe both. Fil mi shativo yesh lo sanug yosef echad mechavero. Does it muchav kam gam hasheni? That's not Shabbos. Shabbos we saw right in Shulchan Aruch. You can fast on Shabbos. If you don't like to eat, you can fast on Shabbos because that's your oneg. And as Ms. Mann points out, yes, it is subjective. That's your own ed. There's nothing that you have to do on Shabbos. There are things that you can't do on Shabbos. And you have to have a suit on Shabbos. You have to have at least 2 meals, 3 meals with a little bit of bread. But the rest of the day, you can even cry on Shabbos. We saw that. Okay? But in Yantiv, you have to have that festive meal. You must have it. But Misha Tivo Yeshel Tan Yosef B'chad Mechaveo B'cholzev Muchal Kam Gam Hasheni. The Torah tells us a chiyuv. Samachta b'chagecha, and that's simcha ein tzechel el basar u'b'yayin. You have to have a festive meal, and you look in the poskim, contemporary things. It's not that simple. You don't have to eat a meal with meat on Yontif. You don't have to. It's a consent, but you got to do. So you have to have a nice meal, because that's the simcha. It's chetzio lachem. But with Shabbos, halok siva davash muchev laso, because of course the Shabbos on it. But Shabbos, it never says anywhere what you have to do on Shabbos to make it into a day of delight. There's no chiyuv of basar v'yayin on Shabbos. In Cain, so that it's subjective. You can't do malacha, but if you want to sit and learn all day, you can sit and learn all day. You want to sit and cry all day, Chalila, if you're very sad, you can sit and cry all day. What works for you? Because oneg is up to you. And then we saw in the Mishnah Berurah. If someone really is just sad, they have to cry, cry. That's why it says by oneg there's kavod. It's a matter of respect. The oneg of Shabbos is involved in what everybody respects Shabbos their way, and they will be respected. They have a chance for kavod. It's your day. That's why there are people who eat on Shabbos, they get chayim, and people who show love for Shabbos, they have gedula. And that's, you go back to the Musaf davening, it has different ways of enjoying Shabbos. There's oneg, a person might cry, and that's kavod. We respect that choice. Toameha, people will eat on Shabbos. That's good. Chayim. Ovim dvareh, those who love it, that apparently are the words of the Torah. If that's what you want to learn all day on Shabbos, learn all day. It's very, very subjective. And that's Shabbos as opposed to Yontiv. Crying at home is not giving a public eulogy. You can't cry in public. You cry at home. You cry at home. Or the Mudei Or, he cried with his family. Everybody in his family cried. But you can't go to like the shul and give a hesped. You cry at home. It's for you. And that's on Shabbos. It's not on Yontif. Okay, we don't do a spadum on Shabbos. Okay. Rav Soloveitchik Zatzal elaborated on this idea of his great-great-grandfather. And I just have to find it. I know I opened it. Here we are. Okay. And it's a very nice point. And I'll start off for you. Yantiv, we start with Baruch Hu. Shabbos, we have Kabbalat Shabbat. Right? We say, L'chadu didikrat kala. Who are we greeting? The Rav says we're greeting Hashem, the Shechina. Yesh Kabbalat HaShechina be'erev Shabbat im chasheichal. On Shabbat, the Shechina comes to us, Kaviyachol. That's the Kabbalat Shabbat. The Shechina comes with Shabbat. And he elaborates on this idea very nicely. In Ken Yeshnan Shtei Mitzvos Kibud. Okay, when the Yeshana says Mechabdel, we have to honor Shabbat. Ikar Mitzvah v'Shabbos Agabel Pnei Shechina. The Shechina is coming to us, Kaviyachol. We have to keep that. We have to have that attitude. That's why we have to clean the house for Shabbos. It's not just, what's Shabbos? The Shekhinah comes to us on Shabbos. That's why we have to clean the house. Do sponge up, set up the chairs, set the table, because it's for the Shekhinah. And he's going to elaborate on this. Now, Yantiv is different. Yom Tov, Yesham Mitzvah Achas, Shein Lo Hekes B'Shabbos, Ein B'Shabbos Mitzvah Simcha. Yantiv is a day of Simcha. And that's Tosfot. We saw the Tosfot. That's why there's no mourning. There's no availus at all on Yantiv, because it's negated by the mitzvah of Simcha. And the Rav made a point then, so why do we say Yismechu b'malchutcha at Musaf? Right? I think Nusach Sfard says that all three Amida prayers. Ashkenazim say it only at Musaf. Yismechu b'malchutcha. We rejoice in your kingship. Why do we say that at Musaf there's no Simcha? And the Rav answered, name of his father, because at Musaf, that's the tefillah instead of the korban, which was in Beis HaMikdash. And Beis HaMikdash, there's Simcha. Beis HaMikdash is a place of Simcha because we're in front of Hashem, which is the idea that we're going to develop. On Shabbat, Hashem comes to see us, Kaviyachol. On Yantav, Kaviyachol, we're going to see Him. And this is what he says. Near Tamachil ben Shabbos Yom Tov Yesh Galot. I don't know about Sfardim. I don't know. I'm telling you what the Ashkenazim say according to the Rav. So I don't know how you explain the Sfardim. Near Tamachil ben Shabbos Yom Tov Yesh Galot Shnei Panim Sheish Gila Shechina V'Ashral. The difference in Shabbos and Yom Tov is based on the difference on different perspectives vis-a-vis the Shekhinah. And what does that mean? To skip ahead. It's a very long essay. So here we go. Near a Pasha, it says this is obvious. How do we understand what it means to say the Shekhinah is present? Sometimes Hashem invites us to see Him, Kiviyachol. On Yantav, we're Ola Regel. There's a mitzvah to go to the Beis HaMikdash. Means Hashem wants us to go to His house. We're His guests. We're in Hashem's house, Kiviyachol. Lefrakim, sometimes, Gosh Baruch Hu, Mamalei, Tol, Almin, so it's called Amen. You're able to rabbis, but not feel Sadamu Mashet, not so based on Adam. And sometimes Hashem comes to visit us. He comes to see us, which is very nice. He's our guest. When a person is a guest of Hashem, we go to Beis HaMikdash, is a mitzvah of year and kavod in Beis HaMikdash. How do we behave? Ram, Adam, and when Hashem comes to visit us, on Shabbos, obviously we have to behave appropriately. But when you have a guest, there's no mitzvah to be in awe of your guest. He's a guest. There's no mitzvah of yira. That's the difference between. Explains, which I didn't get into, the difference between behavior in Beis HaMikdash, what's required in Beis HaMikdash, where we're guests of Hashem, as opposed to Lachas governing or the etiquette of being in shul, when we believe that Hashem comes to see us when we're in shul. There's a big difference in Beis HaMikdash and the shul. That's the difference in Shabbos and Yantiv. The Yom Tov Adam Amin Lifnei Hashem. Yom Tov, we're before Hashem. We're visiting Hashem, even if there's no Beis HaMikdash. V'atzah shekdusha tzayam sheyam Tov v'kedusha yuched v'kedusha yamim ha'makadesh. V'ashekol b'chor adam v'kedusha zu. Yeshna mitzvah t'riyas panim. There's a mitzvah to go to Beis HaMikdash and Yom Tov. V'kovas korbanos cheres shalom chagigav simcha. And there's a mitzvah of simcha. Rosh Hashanah is in between this, man. And look in the archives. We've talked about this in past years. There's no Avelos on Rosh Hashanah. It's usher to fast on Rosh Hashanah. And I think I spoke about this last year and 2 years ago. It's all learned from a pasuk in Nehemiah. Okay, it's there in the archives. There is Simcha on Rosh Hashanah, but it's a different kind of Simcha. Okay, and Yom Kippur also. Yom Kippur is a day of Simcha. Tisha B'Av is a day of mourning. Yom Kippur, the Gemara says, Yom Kippur is one of the happiest days of the year because we get forgiveness. So there's Simcha. And there's Simcha on Yom Tov. We're guests of Hashem and there's Simcha. And that's where the Shalmei Chagiga were Simcha. Mitzvah Simcha noeges l'das Rambam afil b'zman hazeh. Mitzvah shel dav simcha rak b'man shel geshpacha and simcha b'gil ba'ol shel basa v'dam. There is a mitzvah of Simcha d'oraisa even according to the Rambam b'zman hazeh, because it's the day. Inherent in the day is the idea that we are before Hashem. And even though we're meeting Hashem in shul, meeting Hashem in our house, it's as if we're in Beis HaMikdash. And that's why the mitzvah is relevant in these days. The Shabbos, the mitzvah Shanel Gamri, Shabbos is totally different, he says. In Shabbos, there's no mitzvah be Olo Regel on Shabbos. Not at all. The Sunni Yisrael comes to opening the Mikdash. The fact is, Shabbos is a mitzvah that says that there was before there even was a Beis HaMikdash. The mitzvah built a Beis HaMikdash is in Parshas Truma. The mitzvah keep Shabbos is in Yisro. We don't visit Hashem on Shabbos. He comes to see us on Shabbos. He comes to see us. That's why we say l'chadodi. Adam b'chayv l'kev l'panav shel Baruch Hu. Let's say across a shechina. The l'chadodi is an incredibly enigmatic poem when you think about all the stanzas. To whom is it addressed? Like, who are we speaking of? Was he Tori? All right. Oy b'shalom ateret bala. Like what? There's the Shechina. The Kabbalah get into the Shechina. I don't understand the Shechina. I really don't. I don't want to say a word about the Shechina. But we're going to greet the Shechina. The Kala of L'chadodi is the Shechina. And that's why the Gemara says in passing, how do you do kavod on Yom Kippur? You wear clean clothes on Yom Kippur. You're not having a meal. Wear your nice clothes on Yom Kippur. Because when the Shechina comes, you have to dress appropriately, right? The house on Shabbos is a home that's worthy of hosting the Shechina. That's why we have to clean the house on Shabbos and clean the house on Yom Kippur also. The Shechina is coming. That's why Yom Tov clothes have to be nicer than Shabbos clothes. Because Yom Tov, K'viyachol, we're going to see Hashem. Going to Hashem's house, you have to dress nicely. Okay? What's more important than dressing nicely when Hashem comes to see us? But there's no concept of the Shechina coming to our houses on Yom Tov. We say Shabbat Kabbalah. Why don't we say Pesach Kabbalah, Shavuot, Sukkot? Because the Shechina is not coming to see us on Yom Tov. We're going to see Hashem on Yom Tov. Shabbos, Hashem comes to see us. That's why it's L'chadli Krat Kala. Nechaz Amona Shal Geshprachos, Shamash Simcha Shara, and the Beis HaMikdash is a din of Simcha. In Hashem's house, there's only Simcha. Only Simcha. And that's why there's no Avelos. Ein Avelos, ein Bechia Shama. Sham Geshprachos Makabel Penenu. There's no Avelos in Beis HaMikdash. The Kohen Gadol, the Rav makes the point, Kohen Gadol never goes to a Levaya. There's no Avelos by the Kohen Gadol. Because the Kohen Gadol is in Beis HaMikdash. In Beis HaMikdash is no Avelos, because that's where Hashem is Kaviyachol. and there's no Avelos in front of Hashem. Shabbos is not like that. Shabbos, Hashem comes to see us, and if we're in Avelos Chalila, we'll be in Avelos when Hashem comes to see us. And you want to cry? You can cry when Hashem is your guest. And it finally makes the point, I want to end with, okay, Sephardim do, Ashkenazim don't. Sephardim say, I think, the first and the last four L'chadodis. Ashkenazim don't say any L'chadodis at all. Why don't we say L'chadodis if it's also Shabbos? Yes, it's Shabbos, but it's also Yantiv. And Yantiv, we're going to see Hashem. Olam has Sephardim, but it's true, the Sephardim say 4 or 2, in the front they say the first one, the last two. Because Shabbos Yantiv is a little bit different. Yes, it's Yantiv, we're going to see him. It's also Shabbos. He's coming to see us. So, since he is coming to see us, since it's also Shabbos, we should welcome him, Kaviyachal. And we say a few L'chadodis. And that's the difference between Shabbos and Yantiv. And I thought that was very interesting. In Yantiv, we go to see Hashem, which is Simcha. The Shabbos, Kaviyachal, Hashem comes to see us. That's Oneg. Any questions?
No, thank you.
All right. So it's good to see you all.
I have something. Thank you. I have something to say, Rabbi. There's a story about a man and a wife, and they have a child. And the child dies on Shabbos, and she doesn't tell her husband. That story that I'm referring.
That's Medrash Mishlei on Eshes Chayil about the wife of Rabbi Meir.
Oh, Rabbi Meir, yeah.
Okay. Anything else? And I'll see you all Wednesday, Belinetta. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Shabbat
Shabbat.
granddaughter's birthday.
Bye-bye.
Bye.